So there's something we need to talk about. I don't know what it is. I was told that's how I needed to start a podcast. I believe my buddy Chris Masma told me that, and I'm not even sure that that was the line. I know it started with so. That was about it. But whatever. We can talk anyways because we're gonna have another good fucking day. It's the first show of the year, and that was my first fuck of the year on the show. I've had lots of other fucks, and by that I've said the word a lot. But yeah, super excited. Let's get this bad boy started. I gotta get you know how I gotta do it. I gotta go in and make sure it's all set up. If anybody of you are on there, please feel free to like, share, comment as always. I've made it public, so let's see. John Westhoff's in the fucking house. Mr. Depowered himself, he's there. Good. All right. Anybody else? I want someone better than him. Is there anyone better than him? That's a low bar, people. It's a very low bar. I'm kidding. I love John. He's a great dude. We have a really good show tonight. I'm very excited. Someone who's interviewed me multiple times, so I felt like I fucking owed it to him at the very least. So, yeah, I had to. Not better. That's not true at all. You liar. What's going on, FA? Good to see you, homie. Yeah. Okay, I can't get this. Oh, great. My internet's gonna be a bitch. There it is. Good. Let's see how this all goes down. You know what? While I'm waiting for this very low bar, yeah, exactly. While this is going on, why don't we see if we can get this bad boy started? And oh, what, Wendy? You're not seeing anything?
No, I'm trying to share it, but it won't even really share it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the internet.
Canadian bacon is actually really good, and it's nothing like normal bacon, and it's better than ham, which you guys seem to call Canadian bacon. I'm very good at writing. I write very well. Yeah, it's Shop Talk.
Do some of your audience members like the word fuck? Cool. Then I'm going to keep saying fuck. Because I care.
Josh Pants, what's going on, buddy?
Not too much. Just getting into the new year. I gave myself time off for the holidays because I've been like going like a madman for a while. And I get back to work on Thursday. My show starts up again on Thursday. I got Stone Abdullah. I'm a little worried because he's got a better voice. He's smarter than me and all that stuff. I don't know what I'm doing in the same room with this guy, but you know.
He's got a better voice and he may be smarter. But you're a pretty boy, so you're gonna do just fine.
Totally. I am the prettiest boy here.
You are.
But speaking of which, I kind of wanted to do this off the front. So it just so happens. So although I didn't quite make my top 10 this year, I really enjoyed the interview I had with Chuck Pantalleresco, the writer. He wrote a little book called This that I actually just bought.
Ah, nice.
That's my surprise for you, my friend. It was one of those. I'm a man of my word, in the sense that I said to you that I would support you in some way or the other, and this would be the book I would support you with. And lo and behold, ladies and gentlemen, I now own a copy of Essence House, Chuck Pantalleresco, and Eric Cockrell. Yeah, I see. But see, little known fact about Chuck: as much as he denies this to the universe, he's really proud of how good of a writer he is. He doesn't get often the credit he deserves for that. So here you go.
Thank you, buddy. I appreciate that. That means a lot to me.
Yeah.
I think 2022 for me is going to be much bigger as a writer. I have a bunch of stuff going on, a lot of shorts happening. So I think actually this year, definitely, last year was very much an editing year. This year is going to be writing. For sure. Boom.
Yeah, me too. I've been getting Bay reads back for my next release already. So that's kind of so my next one is not a poem. It's going to be actually a short novella called Lights Out, which I'm writing and drawing.
So So you know what? That's a really good place to start then,
Mhm.
because you're here and you've done really well with your books, with your podcast and all that. But we're all still indie at the end of the day. So why don't you tell everybody who the fuck you are and what you do?
Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, my name is Josh Pantalleresco. I am an award-winning podcaster. My show, Just Joshing, has crossed over 700 episodes in which I interview authors and other creatives from all over the spectrum. Topics have ranged from glitter to PTSD and everything in between you possibly imagine. I have no fear. I might give less of a fuck than Chuck does, which is saying something, right? And so I just have casual conversations with creatives from all stretches. 2018 Aurora Award winner. I'm an author. I have written 6 books. 5 of them are poems. The 7th book is not going to be a poetry thing, but 2 of my most recent release is called Alice 1. It's my retelling of Alice in Wonderland. It's Alice in Wonderland is Greek mythology. Alice is Pandora. Alice opens Pandora's box and gets a certain Cheshire friend inside her head, and she has to go down my very twisted version of Greek Wonderland. It's kind of fun. And then like I said, my next book is Lights Out, which is kind of a homage to Ray Bradbury's Fahrenheit 451. So, yeah, I think that's
yeah, nah, dude, that's really cool, man. It's funny when I first met you. Wendy loves that idea.
yes.
Of course you do. It's a good idea. So you were looking for guests, and I was excited to come on, and you and I had chatted a little bit, and so I decided, okay, cool, I'm gonna check out his show and see what he does. And the first one I went and listened to, I've listened to several since, many since, but the first one I listened to was literally, and I don't remember who the guest was. You'll remember it, I'm sure. But you guys were seated in a restaurant. It was all audio. There was no video. You guys were seated in a restaurant, and you could hear you like talking to the fucking to the waitress and everything. And that's before I had this show. And I thought, I love the no editing. I love the no editing. Like it really it informed my decision to make this let's be honest. My lack of editing skills as a videographer and my laziness, those really led, most. But what gave me the confidence to do it was that I could still sit and listen to you guys give your order. And I was like, this is fucking fun. Like, I'm actually somehow enjoying this. So I thought it gave me a lot of confidence that, like, okay, if these guys can pull this off, I might just be able to too. This is interesting. So, yeah.
No, so here's the thing. I'm okay, partly because I was a shitty sound editor at the beginning as well, but also in part, I'm a big believer in authenticity. And here's the thing. You go to a restaurant, you go to a bar, you're going to talk to the waitress. You're going to talk to people in the bar. Sometimes the bar will talk to you. It's just the way it is. So very much the place, especially in the beginning when I didn't have money, the other thing too, I would be going to different places to meet people wherever they're comfortable with. So I don't have the luxury of controlling the sound environment or any of that stuff. So you're like, okay, so you're going to make it. So it's like, I could edit this stuff out, but honestly, it added to the experience. There's literally one conversation where we literally went from one restaurant to another, and the whole thing's in there.
Even like the journey?
Yes, everything's there.
That's really good.
Just because it's real, right? It was a real experience, right?
Yeah.
Right? The thing about, it doesn't matter what the story is. You're trying to create an experience. And that also, why would I want to do it like anybody else? Because I'm not going to stand out that way. I'm going to do something that only I can do. And that has informed pretty much my whole creative career. And I actually kind of had an epiphany about that in the last year. So, in the sense that, Alice Zero, the first absolute, actually, Wendy's comic creators are getting food. Yeah, totally. No, it would be, honestly, it's not a bad idea. Someone should do it. Right. But the thing is, Alice Zero, my very first book in the Alice series, was nominated for an Elgin Award. I did that as an indie. And I realized, even though I didn't win, it's really, honestly, it is an honor to be nominated. The idea is, I told my stories my way. I am not kind of absurdist asshole. So it's like, So why try to be like anybody else? Just do the stories and bring the experiences that matter to you, because you will find your audience in time, right? And I like to think of myself, I come up with imaginative, absurd shit that sneaks up on you and makes you think. That's what I do. That's what I enjoy doing. And you know, maybe I'm wrong to make that assessment about myself, but that's kind of how I see myself as a creative. So why would I do that?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I really like that take. Just like, hey man, I gotta be me. I gotta do me. And I mean, I think you and I are very similar in that. Like, I saw Belial and I went, oh, okay, cool. Here's a hell story. Why don't I add dick and fart jokes? Like, let's fucking go absurd. And I've always been a big fan of just really being weird. I mean, dude, this next issue goes to some really fucked up places. So, yeah, I think it's really important to go with the absurd and have some fun and go wherever you want to go.
What's up, Splash House?
He's in the house. He wants to know how you doing.
I'm chill.
You're one of the chillest dudes I know. And it's funny. So we were talking about our shows and everything. And so, like, even this show, I've had people come to me and go, hey, man, like, last episode's show, you didn't seem as excited. And I'm like, you know what? You poured on as much as you can, but at the end of the day, it is live. And if we're not excited about it, it is going to be there. And that's, I think that's part of the good part of being live, is that, you know what? You're going to have a not as great show, and that's totally fine. And it's still fun to watch because it's live, and you're like, if they're not on, how is this thing going to spiral? What are we going to see this turn into?
So last year, I do drink and draws on my podcast too, and I'm sure we'll talk about that in a little bit. But I remember one, I felt really bad. I wanted her back just because I feel I didn't do her justice. I just wasn't in a good headspace. And Kate Krasinski did a really, like, she's an amazing artist, and she actually helped me out of my funk. But I started in kind of a bit of a funk with that whole conversation. And it was like, I don't feel I did it right. Like, this is like in terms of justice of who she was, because she's such a chill, cool person. And it was like, but that's just it. Like, I'm not going to go in, like, there are going to be some conversations you're going to have that you're like, this is amazing. And this is exactly why I do this. And then there are some conversations you're going to have. Hey, JD.
What up, Javi?
And there are just some conversations that you're going to have. You're just going to be like, I'm just like, you connect, but you only connect so far. That doesn't mean that they're bad conversations, but I mean, some of the people on my guest list, I think would be amazing friends in real life. Some, not so much. That doesn't mean they're bad people. They're just not my people. And that's okay.
Yeah. Splash House says, can't always have a poker face. Yeah, man, I try to leave my poker face at the table. Yeah. And I try to be as genuine as I can. And sometimes that's going to shine through. And it means you're not excited to be here. You know what I mean? And actually, I've had people all the time. I'm in my 40s and I wear my hat backwards. And I've had people talk shit and say, why do you do that? And I'm married too. There you go. And I've had, like, grow the fuck up. Why do you wear your hat backwards? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, first off, that's not an age thing. It's a fashion thing in my mind. But I remember when I first got into acting, when I was in high school, my drama teacher, he said, look, I know you like wearing hats and I get it, but you can't wear your hat. If you're going to wear your hat in class, you have to wear it backwards. And I was like, why? How does that even make sense? And he was like, because your eyes are so expressive and they say so much. And when you wear the hat, it hides them. So you need to start wearing that hat backwards, at least when you're in my class. And I really liked that reasoning. Mm-hmm. And I was just like, oh, okay, I fucking buy that. And I started wearing my hat backwards. And then it just stayed backwards because that was something I realized, like, hey, yeah, if I have expressive eyes, if that's part of a gift or something, what the fuck am I doing hiding it? Mm-hmm. So that means that basically I've been wearing my hat backwards for 25 years or some bullshit like that, just because the reasoning made sense. And honestly, wearing it frontwards now bugs the fuck out of me.
I'm terrified as I get older because I barely give a fuck now. Like I barely give a fuck. I'm openly crazy. That's how I kind of describe myself. I'm just gonna be me, and I'm not gonna give it. Like I look at it like this. I don't judge anybody anymore. Everybody's just gonna be who they are, and I'm sure there's a reason for it. And the thing is, one of my like big revelations of the last few years has been, at the end of the day, people are gonna do what they want to do. Good, bad, or indifferent, they're going to do what they want to do.
Like this dude who wouldn't wear underwear, which I actually get.
Yeah. I get the Sundays. I get that too, man.
Right?
I do, right? I get it. Right? It just seems like work. But at the same token, at the end of the day, I just look at like everybody does exactly what they want to do. And once I realized that, actually it made it very easy for me to forgive people, because now I no longer look at people from the perspective of, I will listen to them and what they say and what they don't say. And I will respect and I'll listen to it. I'll hear it. And the only time I'm pissed off now is if you try to bullshit me. If you try to bullshit me now, I get really annoyed. It's like, dude, just do what you want. I don't care that much, right? And hello.
Hey,
Hello,
Kev. Nice to see you, man. Mr. Behemoth, what's up?
Mr. Behemoth. Hello, Mr. Behemoth.
He is an editor and a writer for well, I don't remember exactly what his position is, but he works for Behemoth Comics.
Pretty cool. Sorry.
Yeah, you can't bullshit a bullshitter. Absolutely, Javi. I totally feel you there.
Yeah.
I mean, and you know what though? Let's be honest. You can.
Actually, you can.
But trying is a lot of work. And actually, what's the point?
Lying in general is a lot of work. I've interviewed PJ Vernon, and he told me like the story about him being the only town with a nuclear test. And I just nodded my head and kept going. He goes, I can't believe you did that. And I told him, like, honestly, if you want to get over on me on that little fact, go nuts. I don't care. Right? Not right. It's just like, it's one of those things. Like, the world is a strange place. I know a little bit of how strange it really is. I don't doubt, I don't question stuff, right? But so I'm like, but the thing is, if I'm lying to you, if I'm going out of my way to tell you a story that I'm really not invested in, it's too much fucking work. I'm lazy. I'm lazy in the sense, like, I'll tell you the truth because I don't have to remember shit when it's over. It's there, it's out, it's done. Like it, dislike it, whatever. I'm just going to tell you. And then we're done. And I don't have to think about it anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're the French-Canadian officer? Is that what you are? All right, man. All right.
Yeah. So.
Down here, the FCC is not something that's necessarily loved. So
No, it really isn't.
I missed the premise of the topic of the show. What did I miss? Well, so we don't necessarily have topics. The idea of the show, it's called Shop Talk, and we just kind of sit around and actually it's very much kind of inspired by what Josh does on his own show, and that is we sit around, we talk about being creative and the different creative outlets that we have and how we do that and all that kind of stuff. So Josh has just started taking up art. He is an accomplished and award-winning writer. He's also an excellent podcaster. He's done a bunch of stuff. He has over 700 episodes of his own interview show. So, is there something I missed?
I do. I host it. I create shows now too. We'll talk about that as well.
Okay.
That's
well, I mean, you've also started editing too, haven't you?
Well, so what ended up happening was I got a contract from a company to do a immigration show, basically talk about Canadian immigration. And I host it and I edit it, right? So I've been video editing for the last 3 months, and I've also done a commercial for a client as well, and I'm doing another show because it's just like, yeah. Oh no, we're better than that, JB. We're way better than that shit.
Yeah, right.
The fucking men.
Hey, beautiful. Good to see ya.
Hey.
Always good hanging out with her. I met her. I met that young lady at a Comic-Con. We hung out a bunch of times. She ended up getting his name is Javi.
Sorry, Javi. Nice to meet you.
We ended up. She got us a gig at a comic shop where we did a talk for a bunch of the local kids about creating comics and all that kind of stuff. We actually have it recorded, me, my buddy Doug Brown and I. So she's been absolutely amazing. Sadly, she moved away, and we're going to have to see her next time we get to Colorado. Thank you, hon. I appreciate that. We had a really good time with that.
You'd be great at that. You actually would be a good teacher.
You know what? I think like I would, in general, I would, but I also don't have a lot of patience. So I think like I would and I wouldn't.
I'm 50-50 on that. See, this is my theory about you. If someone someone generally wants your help, right? I don't think your patience well runs dry. It's when you get to the little stuff, it's like, so hey, where can I find the pencils? And you'd be like, what the like that shit would kill you. But if someone's like, hey, listen, I really want to create this comic and I need some help with some stuff. Can you help me and show it to me? I don't think you'd run out of patience there, buddy. I think you'd actually be. I think you would be. I think it's the minutia of it would get you.
You're absolutely right, and the minutia is absolutely what gets me. We got some other people in here. Brian Manell, always good seeing you, buddy. Brian. Corey Hardiman, great to see you too, dude. South Dakota. Well, yeah, next time you are, though, definitely let us know. We would love to come hang out. I felt like you had tons of, thank you, buddy. You know what? Okay, so I think you're right. I do have patience, and actually, Josh kind of nailed it. It is the minutia that gets to me. Two of my favorite interviewers in one video. It probably is your wet dream. It's also a wet reality.
Moist towelette, man. Moist towelettes. But anyways.
Right. So it's you know what? If there's information that you can easily find on your own, why the fuck are you bugging me? I guess it's kind of like where I get it. So I had someone who was asking me a lot of questions, and I'm like, Google's a fucking thing, motherfucker. You need to, it's like, you're wasting my fucking time here. And I know that I can give you the answer quick, but I have other shit going on, and I've told you that. Google it.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. Like, you don't want your time wasted.
Yeah, definitely not.
Right. You don't want your time wasted. That's what it comes down to. People genuinely eager to learn never feel like a waste of time. People generally that just are craving for your attention that you don't have all day to deal with. That shit gets people murdered. Like I said, I turned 40. I got to the point, like, my patience gets to a limit too. It's like, you know what the fuck to do. You don't need my permission to do it. But sometimes apparently you do, or you want me to do it. And that's when I say, okay, how much? Because I am that kind of whore.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and that's it, right? Like, some things are worth putting up with, but I'm gonna fucking charge you.
Yeah.
Javi says, well, I love what you guys do. If it doesn't have a great story, it, in my opinion, is just great art. There is a difference from a great total package, and those, in my opinion, are hard to find. Yeah, I feel you. Mm-hmm. I totally feel you there.
Yeah.
Phil Leon's in the house. Holy shit, man. We're blowing up all of a sudden. Phil, good to see you, dude. Mr. Colorist. Just such a cool. He is. Have you ever done a show with Phil?
No, I haven't done a show with Phil.
Gosh.
No.
If you're not high when you go in there, he's so fucking chill that you feel like you've just smoked a joint. Because you're just like, he immediately is like, what's going on, guys? How are things doing? I'm like, doing good. And I find my temperature immediately drop. Like, if I was heated, I would just chill the fuck out
so Phil
immediately, just being around that guy.
So Phil and I would be like the chillest podcast ever.
Yeah. See, even Javi, Phil's the man. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
This is how to Google. That's it. That's exactly it, Javi. Yeah. You get it, my man.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
No,
but yeah. Sorry. No, go ahead.
No, we just don't want our time wasted. Like, I love helping people that genuinely want help. I hate it when I feel like you can do this yourself. Why the fuck are you bothering me? And there's a fine line. Someone that's eager and wanting to learn, it's almost impossible to lose patience. Even if it is, you can Google that, they're just, again, they're in that, I'm getting started, I don't know what I'm doing. That kind, and I'm going to say this not in a negative connotation, that kind of ignorance or innocence is not something you discourage. It's when you're like, okay, you know this motherfucker. Why the fuck are you doing this to me?
Or
right?
You can easily find this information.
Yeah.
Why do you have to waste my time? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like and there is a difference. And when you have that difference, right? That's you know it, and that's when people that's when your patience gets tried. Kids are always enthusiastic. If you hate that, you suck. That's just how I see it. Like, kids are always enthusiastic about that and about their stuff. So it's easy to get caught up in that. And I think that's why, like, that hour talk for you probably was like a high, right?
Yeah.
Right? That's like a high, because it's like, oh my God, they want to learn. They're eager. They're there.
Yeah.
Exactly, Wendy. There's two kinds of ignorances.
Yes.
And that's, right. The one you're talking about is not bad.
Well, because that's a temporary ignorance. You're willing to end it and fill it.
Yep.
It's that forced ignorance, that ignorance that you entrench yourself in. It's like, oh, fuck. You know what? It's funny. So here's the editor in me is about to come out. Javi says, sup, you sexy motherfucker, Phil. Now, here's the thing. When we put something in quotations, it's like, if that's what you mean, you know what I mean? Or if that's your real name kind of thing. So it's funny that sexy motherfucker is not debatable.
Yes.
But his name is, it's like, Phil, if that is your real name. But we all do know that Phil is a sexy motherfucker, which is why that was not in quotations.
Yes.
There's being ignorant by accident, and then there's being ignorant on purpose. That's exactly it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah, like and the first one is always forgivable. The second one is almost irredeemable. So
it certainly can be. Yeah. I mean, I think also depending on the subject, there's certainly some stuff that I'm ignorant to, and I'm like, I'm sorry, we only have so much time in our lives, so many things to learn about.
No, and but that's not what he's talking about. It's like, listen, I know this is the truth, and I'm still going to do it this way. That ignorance. Whereas, okay, listen, I'm sure quantum physics is awesome, and I really am fascinated how black holes work. But to be perfectly honest with you, I got more important shit. Like, I got to figure out how a unicorn parts rainbows. I literally did that in one of my novels. So how does that actually work? So, like, again, it's priorities in my life, and then maybe that's how messed up I am. But again, like you said, you only have so much bandwidth. But even then, what you're saying there is, I just can't, and that's not in itself a bad thing either.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, Javi, I did not mean to make you feel bad about that at all. Yeah. So don't worry about standing corrected. That was just me having some fun with it. And yeah, Phil's like, that may not be my real name, so it's all good. Thanks, Phil. I appreciate you having my back. Now that's a topic I can actually talk about. So apparently Javi can inform all of us about it, but honestly, not tonight, because I have very little interest in black holes.
Yes. Yeah, me too. That's why I meant that up.
So you've been at this for a while now. Yes, Chuck, if that is your real name. Actually, it's not. So that worked. Good job.
Okay.
So one thing I did forget to do is let's go into your oh fuck. Not this motherfucker.
See, Steph's being the biggest hypocrite. I asked him to come on do a drink and draw. He said, I'll get back to you. And he never did. So now my January's booked solid now. So
he did that on purpose. Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
I don't know. You know what? I don't think I've ever seen or heard Steph mention drinking. So maybe that's the thing.
Yeah. I mean, you can drink water. I've had guests that's all they drink, and that's cool. It's just, it's a different kind of show when I do the drink and draws.
So why don't we really just spit out my tea? Let's go. So why don't we go to your origin?
Oh God.
So what is your origin as far as becoming a creative, getting into podcasting, all that kind of stuff? What does that look like?
Fun fact.
Dodge the bullet.
Yes. So, fun fact. This is going to be a London, Ontario story, and the reason I mentioned that like that because me and Chuck bonded over two things: metal and London, Ontario. So, and that's a story in itself. Like, so when I was 13 years old, so they no longer do this contest in London, but at the time, they were doing what is called the Lawson Literary Contest, which was you do a story about Canadian history in some form or fashion or an essay. I ended up writing a story about a time. So little known fact, my email is Michael Through Time. And the reason why, because that was the first story I ever wrote. And it was started in this literary contest when I was 13 years old. I took third, but I decided that I really enjoyed creating. Even at 13, it's like, I'm going to become, at the time, a tour superstar. Like back when tour, like the Robert Jordan books and the big, like that era. That's how old I am, folks. I am that ancient. It's true. Don't let this pretty place fool you. But again, I learned how to write a novel throughout my high school career. Only
the good ones.
Yes. And so anyway, I ended up my high school career, my high school life. I spent a lot of it learning how to do the craft. I learned how to write a novel. I'll say this nicely on the air. My grade 11 teacher, Mr. Sharp, actually read and edited my first novel way back in the day. It's a broken thing. It'll never see the light of day, but I did it in high school. And then I ended up my life I moved a lot as a kid. So I went from London to Windsor to Phoenix and a lot of other places in between. I put around did interviews. I started doing interviews around when I was 18. I went to college for journalism. I dropped out. I was one of those flaky son of a bitches when I was in college at that time. So I ended up from there. I ended up going to Calgary, and then from Calgary to Phoenix. And I started doing interviews for comic book websites way back in the day. And although I will not name them on the air, I ended up working for a comic book creator, a writer, a novelist for a very short period of time in Arizona. Yes.
Nothing to it. Yeah.
That's actually true.
That's
so
very
true. It's very true. It's very, very true. I ended up working there. I ended up working for that author. Didn't go very well. Not going to go into too much detail there. Went through kind of a very interesting little tumultuous thing and ended up back in Calgary. And I got involved with the creative community there. And I got the opportunity to interview Robert J. Sawyer, who's a pretty well-known author. Not everybody knows him in the States, but that's so anyway, I interviewed Rob in this conference, and we were in a conference room. I finally get like a cell phone. Finally get done like to 2015. Finally get a cell phone. I interview him, and we come out of the interview. I forget who he talked to, but he goes, "Well, what did you do?" Well, I interviewed Josh for his podcast. I did not have a podcast at that point in time. He just literally, that's how he said. And I was about to correct him, and it was like, podcast? What? Well, could you do a podcast? I thought about that. Why not? And honestly, that weekend I got a whole bunch of guests. I started doing a show. It was a weekly show like yours at the time. And I ended up, and just over time, it built up. I went from first year I did 1. Second year I was at 2 a week. And I stayed there for a very long time. The pandemic, I went to 3. Now I'm at 5.
Oh my gosh. I'm happy with 1 a week. I really am.
No. I totally get it. I was there, dude. I've been there.
Yeah.
I understand it. This takes more energy than people realize.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I even find like at this point, because of it, I know where my week is just because of this show. Because I don't have a Monday through Friday kind of, I'm working. Often I'll find myself working every single day of the week or at least like putting stuff in. And so you don't know what day of the week it is. And so at least having the Tuesday, I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I know, like, oh, all right, only 2 more days till my show, or, oh, my show was yesterday. So It's Wednesday. Like that's the only way I know my days now.
For me, it's my other work, my other show work. That's what I
Mm.
know what days of the week it is. Otherwise, I wouldn't know. Because again, I'm like you, I'm working, but it's just they are like they legitimately are. It can be a lot of fun. I've just gotten so much practice at it that again, I just have the energy to go. I didn't get there overnight. I got there one show at a time. So. And I write and I again, I just made a decision in my life that I would just be that creative dude. That's what I wanted to be, and that's what I'm going to do.
Well, no, but that's what you're doing.
Yeah.
It's not even about going to do. You're doing it. You're making that happen right now.
Yeah. But that's a conscious choice. Like,
Yeah.
Again, something I said earlier, we all do what we want to do. It's very true, right? We all make these choices. The only real question any of us have is with our wants, is it we controlling our wants and thus our destiny, or is our wants controlling us? Because sometimes what the wants we're serving are not necessarily for our benefit, so, and everybody's got to kind of figure out where they stand on all those decisions.
Yeah. And Steph, that's so fucking true. Like it can be tough to be, like you said, lit up for 2 hours. I mean, it's an awful lot, but that's why for me, like I only do it once a week, and I try to do it with people that I like or who I'm excited about, and every once in a while you won't be excited about someone, and then you're like, cool, I'm gonna stick to the hour for sure on this one.
Yeah, no, it happens. Like, but I more often than not, like, I go in with no plan with practically every interview at this point because I've done so many of them that but I can find something about somebody people are always fascinating. It's just finding where their story is really, really, really fun. Sometimes it's silly, sometimes it's serious, but every time it's always interesting to learn something.
I think what's interesting about you is like, I mean, there's so many obvious things to jump on. The obvious things, of course, are you always, being willing to jump into new situations and try new things, with the art and with with the podcasting, with all of it. But what I would jump at is you've traveled, even just in the time that I've known you, you've traveled and moved around an awful lot.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that's really interesting about you that people don't necessarily think about is you're always someone who's willing to just pick up, move, and be like, okay, well, I'm gonna go do this now, and I'm gonna be over here.
Well, yeah.
You were on a panel, motherfucker. Shut up. You were just on last week.
And he's too afraid to come on my show, so that's just the way it is. So I mean, but but the thing is, so yeah, I'm okay. Again, I moved around a lot as a kid. Like I've moved almost as many times as my age. It's close. It's actually really close. So my stability compared to a lot of people is I'm always wandering, I'm always going somewhere doing something. And that comes with some bad points, but comes with some good points. And one of the things that kind of you come from is you see everything in a very different light, right? There's always so much to see, so much to do, and so much to explore. And like right now I'm in these like, I'm in the mountains right now. I'm in Canmore, which is just like, I've never lived in anything like this. It's kind of cool.
Canmore, is that BC?
That's Alberta, but right near the BC border.
Okay.
Yeah, it's one of those situations where again, literally today I walked outside. I'm literally neighbors with deer. Like that's like I've never lived in this place where like the wildlife is like that close like that, right? I've seen moose. I've seen like I always see hares, but I'm also surrounded by like some of the most gorgeous scenery I've ever lived in. Like there's nothing like this, and if I just been content just staying in one place, I never would have seen it. And that's that's something I've always take for granted. It's like there's always more to see and there's always more to do. And I only got so much time to do it. So I just try to make the most of everything I can do.
Yeah. And that's not fair, Steph. I do preparation. I take a dangerous cocktail of drugs to keep me wide awake and going. Uh, I do all sorts of crazy shit. I picture you are so dead wrong. First
Mm-mm.
off, in BC, especially around Vancouver and Victoria, they quite often don't even get snow.
They get like 1 day or 2 days in the year.
Yeah.
That's it. And it's it's raining
and
there a lot.
yeah,
God
and
damn.
in the summer, dude, it gets really hot.
Mm-hmm.
Ain't nobody got time for that. Yeah, but that's not true, Javi. You've got your own shit going on too. Chuck preps by taking a dump. Well, yeah, that too, right?
Crying too.
You got it. I cry. I do cry. I'm like, oh gosh, Josh is gonna be on tonight.
I know.
I don't know what to do. Yeah, and Javi says about interviews, it's a lot of work behind the scenes just to do an interview, set up time. Yeah, absolutely. And actually, Brian said something too earlier. I didn't want to. He said, I also feel like once one learns some of the nuances of comics through asking those more experienced, they hopefully will grow more comfortable in learning how to look things up.
Yeah,
Which,
absolutely.
yes, I totally agree. I just didn't want him to be left behind.
Yeah, no, totally agree with that. So I'm going to talk about the interview thing. I've done a lot of interviews, like a lot of interviews. I actually probably at this point don't prep enough anymore, but that comes from a confidence of the fact that I can get a good conversation out of just about anybody, right? It doesn't matter who it is, right? And so like I'm going in there. It's like I'll give you an example. I had a romance author named Tracy Cooper Posey, and if you look her up, she's done hundreds of books at this point. Like she's just a machine. She comes right when Words Collide in Calgary. She comes and goes, "Hey, where are we going?" I signed up. She's like, "That's cool. What are we going to talk about?" No, I don't know. We'll just figure it out as we go. And just the look on her face was like, "What the fuck did I sign up for?" We had a great conversation though. But I have that confidence because I have that much practice at it.
Yeah. No, I don't want to get rid of you at all. I wanted to make sure that your thing was mentioned. Prep for a show. Yeah, exactly.
Pretty much at this point. Yeah.
Yeah. Chuck saves time. Dude, I did like 2 fucking panel shows out of my first 56 episodes. How many panel shows have you done? How many episodes? Oh, yeah, that's right. He does have a show. He pretends to draw.
I feel the love. You two have like a good love.
I do love the guy. In fact, Sean and I, because we're talking about covers and stuff for Belial 3, because Belial 3 is about ready to start art. We were talking, and there was 2 cover artists that I was like, dude, I think there's 2 cover artists we're not gonna fight about. And I mentioned them, and one of them was Steph, and he was like, yeah. Those are just, they're happening automatically. I was like, okay, good. So there will be a Steph cover for Belial 3. We've got to do it.
Although sometimes I do wonder. I do wonder how long you and Steph have actually been married, because the way you bicker so much that sometimes it's just like there's like a married couple vibe to it at this point.
I feel like as soon as we hang out, I'm gonna be like, well, one of us has to put out, or else this marriage is just not worth our fucking time.
Yeah.
Every 2 years, it comes out more often than your book. And don't say that art book thing is a book. It's pictures that your wife stapled together. No, actually, Carrie did an excellent job on the book. Yes. He just drew and then had someone else. Can you please make a book for me? I love John. I will deny it. Yeah, I think you should. It goes both ways, my friend. It goes both ways.
Yeah, drunken karaoke night with you two would be hilarious. Like, I love you, man.
I'm so down for that. Yeah. Okay. So we're talking about interviews a little bit. You've done live interviews like this, but how often are your interviews live, like face to face? And how is that? Because I haven't had to do that. I don't know that I've really done that at all. So how is that different? Or is it?
It isn't it. Okay, so the biggest difference when you do an interview live is eye contact. There's a lot more body language you're seeing. So I've become very good at listening to what isn't said And if you haven't done a lot of interviews, that might sound really strange. People choose their words. They really, really do. And if you listen carefully, you can get a lot more. Sometimes you'll see this with some people I interview. Sometimes they're like, "Holy shit, how did you figure that out?" Because I listened to you. I listened to exactly what you said. I put together the pieces of what you didn't say, and I put some thought into it. And there's an art form to that. And when you're with someone live, you get body language. You get a little bit more. You get a little bit more of that person up front, up close, up personal.
No.
It's not that different than what we're doing now, although I do miss it. Like, I do really legitimately miss it.
No.
I don't know how that's going to work up here, because looking up here, I kind of just shrug at what's going on up and down in Canada. As Javi says, you can read the person. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm actually very good at it. Right.
Hey, Dave, good to see you, buddy.
Mm-hmm. I'm usually really good at reading people, and I have to sometimes hold back a little bit because it unnerves them. People give themselves away all the time.
So going with that, and with how you've had to read people and whatnot, Wendy has a great question. That is, who has been your most interesting interview?
There's a few.
Well, you can mention a couple, because having done over 700 episodes, and that's just on that, that's not fair. So who were some of the first ones that come to your mind?
So in the last year, I mentioned a few of them. Jen Lieberman was super fun. I did my top 10 list for the year. If you guys want to look at my Facebook feed. So Jen Lieberman was really interesting, because I never know completely. I never know completely. I never know completely what to expect. Like, really amazing woman in terms of the fact that she's accomplished so much, and her drive was so impressive. And my favorite part, though, was the very end. We talked about what the measurement of success was. And if you go by like the traditional definition, neither of us have hit that. But in terms of the fact of what she's accomplished, I cannot help but think of her as incredibly successful. And that's recent. Spider Robinson was super fun to do. Oh my God. So if anyone doesn't know, Spider Robinson is a legendary science fiction author. I met him when I won the Aurora for my show. I actually gave him his pin. It was kind of cool. And that he told his White House story. That was a dude that, for all his stuff, he was funny, he was entertaining, a man still very much in love with his wife. She's mourning her. But it was an amazing thing. Like, this legendary dude who finished Robert Heinlein's last book, Callahan's Cross Time Saloon, one of the funniest things you'll ever read, thoughtful things you'll ever read too. And here he is, a man that loves his wife very, very much, and that's the biggest impression you get from him. I've interviewed Kelly Armstrong, gamer mom. She's a gamer mom. I thought it was a really cool, like, little thing. We were talking about Borderlands. I've had the opportunity to. I really enjoyed my chat. I enjoyed my chat with Nikki Nash. The first one literally became how many times I could make her laugh, which was always that. I enjoyed that. But I think probably if I had to pick just one, the first time I interviewed my editor, I've never met somebody that wore her passion on her sleeve so much that it was just like, it blew me away. She really cares. And anybody I've interviewed that has that is always amazing. And it's one of those things where I just like, I'm missing so many, because I've had the opportunity to, like, the list of, like, I've all over the spectrum. It's amazing the opportunities I've had, and I'm honestly genuinely humbled by some of the people I've had the chance to interview.
So then let's make this list a little easier, perhaps. Let's go with this question: who have you not interviewed that you would like to? as you start to see, you see what you're capable of. Because obviously, I'm sure there's some like A-listers and all that kind of shit. But as far as what you're capable of, and you stepping up your game and all that kind of stuff, who are those people who are on the next level that you're ready to start? That you feel like you haven't been able to get to yet, but you could and you'd like to.
Brandon Sanderson's the one of the ones I really want to interview. The musician Lights, someone I really want to interview. I think she's one of the most creative people I've ever seen. She's also done comics as well. And it's like, yeah, Skin and Earth by Dynamite Books. I tried to get her nominated for the Aurora. She deserved it for her first comic. Really good. That's someone like that I would love to interview. Let's see. Here's the thing. I've interviewed #1 New York Times bestsellers.
Night, buddy.
Yeah. Night, David. Have yourself. It was a pleasure. I want to interview Stephen King. I want to interview Joe Rogan. I want to interview, and this might all sound crazy. It's not. I've interviewed #1 New York Times bestselling authors. I've interviewed some pretty famous people in a variety of spectrums. I don't think it's impossible for me to get any of these interviews. It's just the right place, the right time, and the right opportunity. And so I want to interview Joe Rogan. I wanted to interview Larry King. But right, I wanted to like there are, and again, people currently in the market that I would love to pick their brains on. Comic wise, let's go comic books here.
Okay.
I'd love to interview Dan Didio. I think that'd be an interesting conversation because I think that's a guy with a lot of history. I've interviewed J.M. DeMatteis. I'd love to interview Keith Giffen. I would love to interview Keith Giffen.
He'd be fun, I think.
No, he'd be so much fun. I would love that. Rogan is a very intelligent person. That's one of the reasons why I want to interview him. But he's also, he's polarizing too, which is interesting as well. And I think I'd like that. But I'll just say this, one of the biggest secrets I've ever learned doing interviews, don't be afraid to ask. You might just get it. That's literally how I got to interview Spider Robinson. That's how I've gotten to interview Charles DeLint. That's how I've gotten to interview Fonda Lee. Is like, you want to come on my show? Right? Cool. Come on my show. And they come. So, it's like, I think big, and I go, why not?
That's cool, man. Sorry, excuse me. Brian Manel says, do you feel like learning and reading other people can also help you in applying what you learn and understand into how you construct characters in a story?
Yes. Storytelling is all about nuance.
Yeah.
It's all about nuance. It's not so much about what's said. It's about what isn't said. It's what's implied. So the difference between a comic or an illustrated work and a written work is the details you highlight. In a comic, the images, why is this image still? Why is this image here? And then the next image, whatever that transfers to, why is that image here?
Yeah.
Because it's what's between the gutters that you imagine. Right? In comics, that's the whole secret to telling a good story, is you got to think about what you're not going to show people, because people will put that thought into themselves. Mm-hmm. And really, really good creators can create some really interesting, for lack of a better term, hallucination experiences just by what they don't show you.
Between the panels, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. What's up, Bankston? Good to see you guys.
Yeah. So
I like this. Steph says, Wendy has good interview questions. Take notes. I don't have to. She's asking the questions. That's why I love having people like Wendy and Brian and all that kind of stuff. They're like, oh, Chuck's a good interviewer. Yeah, but that's also because I bring out good people who want to ask great questions, and that works for me.
Yes. And Steph, you're right. It's all about the sexy. It's all about the sexy. It's all about it.
Chris Mad's in the house. I was supposed to hang out with Chris Mad last night, and I got home and I'd been drinking and such too much, and I was like, I'm sorry, dude, I'm gonna pass out, and I really did. I was just like, Love your. Oh, look at this. Dan Schmidt's in the house. Cool. I didn't know you were here. That's so
Yeah.
good to see you, man. Love your comment on the importance of gutters. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's dead on.
Yeah, no, but it's every storytelling is the same thing. It doesn't matter what kind of story you construct. Creatives have to think in terms of three things. Why do I give a shit about this moment? First and foremost, right? And the second thing they got to think about is, okay, what am I trying to do? What am I trying to do to my reader? How am I playing with you? Right? And third, what's the best way to get the response I'm looking for? Right? And this doesn't just apply to comics. It applies to everything.
Yeah.
All mediums of storytelling follow these rules. However, you got to understand that where each medium does things differently. With comics, it's the gutters. It's always the gutters. Although you also can leave it on. Sometimes it's in plain sight too. Like good comics just do really cool things in plain sight. Sometimes you're like, you put it right there, and I didn't even notice. Right, and that's I always applaud that stuff.
Yeah. There was something said earlier, and I will get back to it. But Wendy, because we're talking specifically about this, she said, in other words, which specific panels need to be dynamic in your comic? Yeah, it's about what you're showing and what you're not, and how you're showing it.
Yeah. It's not always even about necessarily dynamic. It can be little moments. It doesn't right. It's a whole experience you're trying to create. We're trying to evoke feelings, right?
Yeah.
No matter what anyone tells you, we want to make whoever's reading our stuff feel something. And if we've done it well, right, part of that is the reader's interactivity with your book, because your reader is bringing something into it as well. So what you're trying to do is you're trying to create that connection to your reader when they read your stuff. Because if you have it, they'll remember it. They won't give a rat's ass about like the fact that I use Stygian birds as croquet in my Alice book. They won't give a crap about that. They'll care about the journey Alice took in the labyrinth. That's the goal. Everything else is nice, but what I want them to give a shit about is what's the goal.
Cool. So Javi asks, what makes your list the list? Like, what does it take to actually get on the list? Or do you stay inside a niche? I
don't anymore.
What?
No, I don't stay inside a niche anymore. Once upon a time, the show initially started as a place to promote Canadian authors because Canada sucks at promoting their own shit.
Oh my gosh, yeah. That's why so many of us leave.
No, I might be leaving this year. It's possible. Who the fuck knows, right? But I mean, what it comes down to is Canadians. If Canadians are guilty of one thing, they completely underestimate their own worth, their own value, and what they bring to the table in everything. It's our downfall. Like, legitimately, as a country, it's one of our biggest downfalls. But there's some amazing talent. Like, Steph's kind of not joking when he says, like, we got nothing else to do but be creative. He's not half wrong, isn't he, right? There's some amazing people up here. Like, incredible, amazingly talented people that don't realize what they've done. And it's amazing to me. That's where the show started. What ended up happening is I got the reputation of being good at what I do, and more people started to come in. And I'm also pretty open to talking to practically anybody. I decided like very much pretty much with the way this has evolved is I got a reputation for being a pretty good interviewer, and people like coming on my show and having a good time. And because I'm not, again, all I really care about is we have a good conversation. I don't really give a shit about what people dig. That it's authentic and real, but it doesn't feel like there's any pressure. And so now, and also the fact that I've expanded, so I've ended up stumbling into the Kickstarter world. But I've interviewed indies, professional, like New York Times bestselling authors have been on my show. People that work at DC Comics have been on my show. It doesn't, like, there's a variety, like there's no like anything. The only thing is people go, oh my God, you do this. Can I come on your show? Or I sometimes will approach you and go, listen, am I cool enough to interview you? It's amazing how many people laugh at that, and then they actually look at what I do, and that's it. Yeah, Travis.
I love a good Josh therapy. Yeah.
Yeah, I've given therapy to quite a few creatives on my show
Right.
too. Right.
Well, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Corey says, I love Nova Scotia, but I want to move to Florida. I mean, maybe consider being a snowbird. Go down there for because Travis can tell you, Florida's not all it's cracked up to be. I love going and visiting, but it can be a lot.
Crazy about that. I'm not crazy about Florida either, but that's but I get why people want to. Right. I get why people want to right now. I can see the appeal from afar for sure. So
yeah. And then we had Trish come on. She says, I want to move to Texas so I can bug Chuck. Hun, you've done a very good job of bugging me from Arkansas. You don't have to move to Texas. But you're always welcome here, my love. You're always welcome here. Even Javi's like, no, you don't, man. I want to get as far away from the snow as possible. I fucking feel that, Corey. That's why I'm in Texas. I totally feel that.
And I went right into the heart of it. It's minus 25 here, right?
Fuck that, man. It got down to into the negatives here. And I think actually, so last night when I went to poker, it was a little over freezing. It was in like the 30s or so, and everyone's outside in jackets and hats and pants and stuff. And I had a pullover, well, not a pullover, my sweater thrown on, and then shorts. And they're like, man, you're still fucking nuts. And I'm like,
no, it's it is what it is. Like I lived in Alberta for 10 years before I came back here.
No. You New Jersey people are fucked.
No. New Jersey, you got nothing. Like you got nothing on the cold up here, brother. Bring it. Like I laugh at your Jersey weather. So
well, yeah. You're in the shit. That's fucked up.
It's like I'd laugh. Like bring it. Right.
I love it. And people ask me all the time, don't you miss the snow? And I'm like, no. Fuck no. I really don't.
Snow is a pain in the ass. It's
beautiful.
I
fucking hate it.
No, it's beautiful, but it's a pain in the ass.
Yeah. You know what? My wife's twin brought this bucket they called it a bucket of snowballs. And it was these little fluffy white balls that you could throw at each other for a snowball fight. But when you crunch them, you could hear the crunching of snow, like that when you're walking. And instantly, I went back. I was just like, "Oh fuck, okay, that sound gets to me." I love the sound of crunching snow, but again, it's like it's a nice sound, but it's not enough to be okay with the cold. Having that sound in my hand and not being cold was amazing.
Yes. Yeah, no, I no, it's just one of those things like if you looked at my outside right now, but I can look out, I have literally the most beautiful mountain view you'll ever see. Same token, it's snow, it's everywhere, it's not going anywhere. I literally walked by like the city of Canmore was plowing the sidewalk because we were so drenched in it from last night. So I mean, just like it's cool that they're plowing the sidewalk. So it's like that's like a neat trick. I wish Calgary had done that, but it like there are cool things about snow. Like snow angels are cool, snowball fights are cool, hockey's cool. Mm-hmm. But at the same token, like one of the things. No, I like that. That's like if I were to go back to Arizona, that's the one thing I like. It's like never snows here, at least in the south. No, northern part it does. But
and those are things that you can do because it's snowing. Mm-hmm. But you could there's still versions of all of those things
absolutely
in the warm weather. So why the fuck worry about it? Like seriously.
Exactly. No.
Rollerblade, motherfucker.
Yeah, rollerblade or heck, even just play on your feet. Don't matter. I can still body check in, and sometimes it's better without the snow. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So have you ever lived or been to Ottawa?
Yes.
I lived in Ottawa too. Actually, Wendy and I lived there when we got together. And so he's asking, how bad is the snow in Ottawa? I would say it's just as bad as anywhere else in Canada.
Okay, so there's two kinds of snow in Canada. There's the wet damp that's in the east, And then there's the dry, like Siberia, that is the west. And then there's some spots in between, right? Like the coldest spot in Canada, for those people wondering, is Manitoba and Saskatchewan, right?
Yes.
Because that is like, seriously, you're drinking just to go outside, and you think I'm kidding. I'm not. -60 can be sometimes in Winnipeg, Manitoba. So just to put that in perspective, folks. But yeah, that's flat, cold, and nothing there. I'm in an area where it's dry, cold, but there's rates, but there are Chinooks here. Eastern Ontario, like Ontario, Quebec, has a dampness, so it doesn't get as cold as out here, but it's wet. So it gets in like your bones. It's like it sucks. Right? That's Brian's. I love Brian's response.
I'm not even at Brian yet. Oh, -60. Yeah.
Yeah, it can get that cold. Like literally, Winnipeg is one of the coldest places on earth on a really bad day. So
yeah, and that's Wendy's right. The worst part of snow is when it starts to melt.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, and also, something that people forget about all the time, and being in New York, I believe you're in Long Island there, Splash House. The salt.
Mm-hmm.
What a lot of people don't know, especially those of you in Florida and whatnot, who don't know much about snow. So, in order to keep it from getting icy and getting slippery, they salt the roads and stuff. Well, that salt corrodes your the bottom of your cars. A lot of your cars end up being rusted all along the bottom. Your pants, you get these white rings around your pants and whatnot. That's why a lot of people will put on their boots and then tuck their pants into their boots so they don't get that horrible fucking white ring. Well, so yes, there's a big pain in the ass.
Little known fact about salt. Here's your lesson of the day, folks. Salt's a powerful cleaner. Most people don't realize it, but salt's actually a cleaner, and it's powerful shit. See what it does to snow, and you'll see it for yourself. It's like, yep.
Yeah. And Trish, I haven't even made room for my comics, so good luck. That's all I can tell you there. Yeah, see, I have the internet, Josh. I can place the TV outside looking into my room and get the same thing, but it will be 80 degrees outside. Yeah.
Yeah, I know that.
And I love that.
Yeah, that's and honestly, that's the best reason for living in either the southeast or southwestern United States is your weather is consistent.
Worst part of snow is when it covers ice. Yeah, that's actually
So
especially when you're driving on it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So what do you have to have a tauntaun ready to fillet? Yeah, of course you do.
Brandy's good. I'm just saying brandy or like mead, they're good after you go ahead and
they warm you up nicely. Now, you and I, we do this a lot in our own interviews, and when we chat, we get into our own little place and we go and have some fun. So what's nice is you have a person like Brian Manell to bring you back. So he says, aside from reading a writer through their characters, how do you read writers through the stories or plots themselves? I tried coming up with one question before the show ends. That's the best I got.
That's a good question.
It's a good question, but honestly, I don't know that you need, and this is just me. So I don't know that it's important though to read the writer through their writing. I think it's just important to enjoy the story. If you want to, you can, and I'm sure Josh is going to talk about that. But for me personally, I think just any writer would tell you I would rather you just enjoyed the story and didn't worry about trying to learn about me through it. You can just ask me fucking questions. But Josh, how do you attack that?
So here's the thing. So I'm going to push back on you slightly because I think there are things about the writer that you do read, and I think it's important that you do read them for one very simple reason. Every story has been told. Every one of them. Doesn't matter what it is. Every story has been told. What does a writer bring to a story? Themselves. So I would go so far to say it's the mixture of the story and what the writer gives a shit about. That's in that story that they're telling. That is what makes the story worth reading. Because it's not really like one of the things with interviewing so many different creatives, you cannot help but put yourself in your work. There's no way around that. Again, You don't necessarily, and I'm not talking about political, religious, whatever, like none of that. No. The stuff, like whatever you're talking about. Okay, for example, Alice in Wonderland, like my current release. I'm talking about the journey to, like, there's a journey of discovery and kind of making peace with your dark side a little bit. Also, the journey of discovering who you are, that discovery of who you are in the world and what matters. Because I give a shit about that. It's a big part of my just how I write. I love the discovery aspect and the surprise. So that's a big thing in my writing. Those stories are those parts of it is what make the story worth retelling, because that's going to be my angle on Alice. It's going to be my angle on Lights Out or anything like that. Every writer, no matter what they tell you, is putting, if it's good, is putting a piece of themselves in the story. Now, it can be a whimsical part. It doesn't have to be necessarily, again, it's that emotional connection, right? And I'm terrified by Wendy's response just a little bit. The thing is, we all bring ourselves into our art, and we should. I dare I say it, it's the only way it's going to be worth a damn. It's what the author brings.
Oh, I do agree with that. It is important for you, and you do put yourself in there. I just don't know that us as readers need to know that stuff. Our job is just to enjoy the story, not necessarily to try to learn more about the writer by what they write. You know what I mean?
No, it's not really about learning about the writer. Like, I think this is where me and you agree. It's not really about learning about the writer. But what I would tell you is, without the writer's, whatever he gives, he or she or whatever non-binary, whatever they care about in there, the story isn't worth the experience. Yeah. So you have, I do think that piece has to be not only read, but understood. That doesn't, again, that's what makes a great story. Now, I don't need to know all about Stephen King at the end of the Dark Tower. Like in the Dark Tower series, put himself in the last 2 books. And it was the last thing he talked about. It's like, because the last question is like, is this the guy, the real Stephen King? Right? He goes, maybe once, like especially the one in book 6. The one in book 7, not so much. And really, doesn't really matter. It fit the story I told. And that's important. Like, that's one of those things where, and Stephen King's right, I don't need to know who Stephen King is. As much as I love to interview him, like, it's not really about knowing who he is when I read his story. But he definitely gives a shit about stuff. A little bit, Corey. But the thing is, what he said there at the end with the epilogue makes sense. You don't need to know the writer personally about the story, right? You don't need to know the writer to point the story. But the thing is, when I write a story, I'm putting a piece of myself in that story, and that part will connect to a reader, and I hope it does. Right? Because that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to establish those connections, because that's what good storytellers do. We all like a good story for that reason. We want to feel, we want to connect. So let us feel and connect.
Right.
So, right? So,
Specs,
hey, Specs,
good to see you, man. Much love. Good to see you. Trish says I'm being mean. I'm being mean with love, if that helps. Here's a good question. Brian did come in. He's like, I do have a question. Are there any fictional characters you would like to interview?
The Grinch.
Oh, that'd be fun for you.
Yeah,
you do Grinch. Really good at that. You do good with that one.
Yeah, I would have fun with that.
He loved your answer, though. Your previous answer. So.
Yeah.
So. Here's something interesting from Javi. How does a guy like me approach guys like you guys in the fashion that you guys would consider respectful? If I had a context or of a story, but needed a professional writer to actually write the story, if I wanted to create a book, or is that even a thing? And how much of that would I lose to the creative part if pursuing something like that?
Ooh, complicated.
I mean, Belial was somebody else's idea.
Mm-hmm.
Sean came to me and said, "This is my idea," and then I put a lot of of myself into it. But that is because I became the co-creator.
Mhm.
So because of that, I got to insert myself and go, hey, this is my vision of it. And luckily my vision worked in with his personality enough that he could be like, yes, I can get behind that. This is a lot of fun. I like this take. Let's do it. And so it worked for us. But if you have a very specific vision for something, I would say the biggest thing, you might not want to hear this, but it's money. It's really just about, hey, look, this is my story and I want you to tell it, but I want you to tell my story my way. And it's like, okay, well, if if you think that I work that, I can work along that way. And if I think that I can pull it off, fine, but it is going to require money.
Absolutely. But there's just some little questions that need to be asked here too. Like a couple things. Number one, am I getting credit for this or am I not?
Oh yeah. Or am I a ghostwriter? Because
Yeah.
if I'm not getting credit, that's even more money.
Yes. That's even more money. Two, am I again, it all depends on the freelancing, which is something else I do, is a very interesting beast in the sense that every job is unique. So I guess the question would be, the other, besides money, which is huge, and that first question I just answered about the ghost rating, like, am I getting credit or am I not? What does the job entail specifically? What do you want me to do? On top of that, how much of your input am I dealing with here as well? Because yes, what vision am I supposed to follow, not follow? Do I have certain creative liberties? Don't I? Like, what are the limitations of that? And that has to be fleshed out, because I learned this the hard way. If these things aren't fleshed out, and those people get this wrong idea of what expectations can be, and that can get really awkward. So you got to answer some questions yourself, my friend, and then after that, give the offer to us, but be prepared to pay.
Yeah. But yeah, that's general. But just approaching someone, you can approach anyone and just be like, hey, I have this really good idea and I think that you'd be a great writer for it. And then just put your cards on the table. Whoa, this is what I'm looking for. What do you think? And just, lay it all out there. And then we can talk. And, hell, the person might be able to tell you right away, look, I'm busy as fuck. Or they might say, actually, I like you and I like your idea. Let's talk it out. And, how much of themselves you're willing to let them have, that's up to you, to the two of you, and how you kind of navigate that. So, but it's very possible for something like that to happen.
Yeah. Be specific and be specific as you possibly can. The more specific you are, the more likely, at the very least, you're going to get a very clear yes or no. So,
yeah. Splash House, and I think this is a very easy question, says, when you write, do your characters speak like you?
Not always.
I don't. If you're doing it right, they don't, and you try to have them have their own specific voices. Sometimes they will. Like, I'll tell you. So I know this will probably sound a little lame, but I say fuck, shit. I say most words. There's 2 words I try not to say in my books. I don't like the C word.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that Australians and whatnot, you guys love that word, but you know what? And the reason I don't like it is because there's no male equivalent. If there was a male equivalent, then I would get behind it 100%. And if you tell me that it's dick, I will say dick does not bother any man. But if you use the C word in a lot of mixed company, you are going to, especially in North America, you are going to have some motherfuckers very unhappy with you. So until that becomes a word that either it doesn't matter and it doesn't bother women anymore, or we have a male equivalent, I don't write that. The other one is, I actually don't use God's name in vain.
Mm-hmm.
I was raised Christian, and despite kind of moving away and being a little more agnostic, I still feel like there's power in using that. And I feel like people, I find it funny that so many atheists and whatnot will use those terms. And I'm like, if you don't believe in them, why the fuck are you saying it? It's stupid. So I try to keep that shit out. So for me, those are simple things that always happens. But
I'm a little bit like, and I speak as someone that still does believe in God. I still like some of the characters will swear like, well, also I swear like a sailor too, so maybe that's not
Right.
entirely fair. But that all said, but again, it's one of those things where I look at it like, does it fit the story I'm telling? I'm more interested in that. Now, but again, words do have power, and I truly do believe that, and it's something I am respectful. There's a balancing act sometimes. Like, does this serve the story I'm telling? If the answer is no, then why am I doing it?
yeah, I feel you. And you know what? Part of me wants to believe that at some point, maybe I'll start adding that stuff in when I feel a little more comfortable. But
Yeah.
because someone should, if it makes sense for their character to say it, they should say it. But it just,
No, and everybody's their own thing. Like
I just have to get comfortable with it.
Well, yeah, I've moved around, and like I said, a lot. So I've just seen a lot of different things. I can swear in 7 languages. So it's just like, and some of them are really, really profane. But it's how you learn languages. I've found that and food are the ways to break all barriers down.
Right.
But it's just people swear. It's just a normal, like, to me, it's a very normal thing. So I can go look at it and go, okay, I wouldn't say it, but he would, and this is why.
Yeah.
But that's different.
Splash Out says, I think the best bet is to get an editor because they can fix your idea. Certainly, they can play with it. Absolutely. Even better, let your editor be your ghostwriter. No, those are two very different things. Two very different things. And an editor, if an editor ended up having to ghostwrite, they would tell you, nah, ghostwriting is so much more expensive than editing. If you saw what I charged you to edit and then what I charged you to ghostwrite, you'd be like, holy fuck, let's just use you as an editor. I'd rather do the work on my own.
I know it's expensive, folks, to get someone to ghostwrite for you. It's expensive, and there's a reason for that. So don't,
I care about my credits. I think we all do. And so
we do.
When you tell us, hey, I want full credit for this, it's like, okay, you're going to pay for that.
Yep. That's a big thing.
The C word sounds better from Australians. Yeah, it does. Totally
Irish
does.
do it. Irish do it really well too.
Right?
Yeah, they do.
My main character drops the G on words that end in ing. I don't talk like that. Yeah, see, that's something. Yeah.
Diction, like every character has its own diction form. Like, and you know,
that's smart.
Yeah. But again, what's comfortable for you? I totally get that. Like, I'm not telling you do or don't. We all have our own lines and boundaries, and that's totally fine.
Yeah. No good equal answer for females to a male being called horsecock. I don't know, man. If someone called me horsecock, I would actually feel really good about that.
Yeah.
Maybe calling a woman jugs. Like, I don't know. I mean, Tits McGee. I don't know. I mean, someone called me horsecock, I'd be like, why, thank you.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, if God's a character in your book, that's certainly different. It's more using his name in vain, but yeah. As an official pastor, I never swear in comic books. Well, you may not say the Lord's name in vain, but I've seen some fucks.
Mm-hmm.
So that is interesting. So you do not say that any of these characters that you create outside of you would in real life actually say things like that would be outside of your own personal comfort zone. You just answered it. Yeah. You know, they would. That's the thing, is that I'm sure my characters would use those terms. I'm just not ready as a person to get to that level to start doing that. And actually, what was it? There was some points in Essence House where Eric wrote GD and JC and stuff like that, and I was like, cool. He wrote it. I can leave it in there, and I can let him do that. And if he wants to add those stuff into things that I've written in there, I don't care. That's fine. Mm-hmm. I just wasn't ready, and I'm still not quite ready to do that stuff yet. But should it? If I was, maybe Yeah. If I'm being completely honest, those words should be in there from time to time. I'm just not ready to do it, and that's just a personal thing. But yeah, the characters, yeah, they would say those things.
Mm-hmm.
C word Canadian, you know the C word I'm saying,
Camera.
motherfucker.
That's right.
C word
Canadian.
is Canadian is not a swear word. Pat Shan Ghost wrote a comic book as Jojo Siwa. Yes, that's true. I
Yes.
did see that. Yep.
Yep.
And I'm betting he got paid really. Someone tried to make fun of him, and he's like, "Nah, man."
No. Seriously, the price is right. I'll be that best JoJo Siwa you ever knew.
Right? Yeah.
I'm
Because I'm sure she'll pay.
Yeah.
Another thing I'm thinking about with Javi's question, I feel like when I create a character who I think is different from who I am, the interpretation of that character I feel like comes from my subjective take on them, which means my personality is still somewhat embedded in that character anyways.
Yeah.
Well, I get it.
Yeah. I got him thinking. I got his noodle thinking when I answered that question.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, Trish, they knew you'd show up. Yeah.
Yes. That's right.
Ask me on a show easier to answer is amusing. Yeah. Canadian bacon. Yeah. See,
Yes.
Still not the C word.
No. Like I said, language is a very hard thing. There are some words I'm not comfortable using either. Right? They're there, and would I write a character that would say some of those things? Yeah, I tried a noir story where they would, but I wasn't comfortable saying them, and that's just where it comes down to. Everybody's got their walls, whatever they are, and they're there for a reason too, right? And there's not a wrong answer, right? It's just right or wrong. An interview I did, there's no right or wrong choice. There's sometimes right or wrong reasons. I actually agree with that.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Oh, excuse me. What did he say? Oh, the only C word not allowed in comics is the actual word comics.
Yes.
Yeah. Kind of like zombies in a zombie movie. You can't say that.
No, you can't. It's like it's already there. So why are you saying it? Is basically what it is. But
There is no cuss words in Cherokee, but I speak all the English ones. Oh, cool. I didn't know that.
No, that
would be a downside for me being if I were to be Cherokee, which I'm not at all, but I love a good cuss word. I think they're the best.
They definitely relieve stress. They definitely do.
I had the hardest time with one word in my script. It took Chuck and I over an hour, maybe a day, to find a word that I liked. I remember the struggle, but I don't remember the word.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I do remember us having to go over it over and over and over again. Chuck knows that, although I will swear, I prefer to swap out swears with something ridiculous like food, son of a hamburger, what the fondue is going on, calm your freaking buns.
And
oh, snitch.
So I'll go to Brian's thing real quick. Just it's tone too, right? Tone's a big part of it too. You can make, when you start to use like food, like son of a hamburger, stuff like that, there's a tonal difference in your story, big time. Now, again, it's not necessarily it's not a bad thing, but sometimes I wrote a noir story. That noir story is hard. I could not use son of a hamburger in that story. It just wouldn't work. Yeah. The story is meant to be very, very much I'm ripping your throat out. Like that's the whole point of that story.
Yeah.
And so I can't be nice. But everybody, it's what stories do you feel you can tell? There's no right or wrong answer to that. Listen, I know romance writers that make socks sexy. That's just what they do. So, I mean, right. And I don't know if I could do it, not just from a skill level, but from a comfort zone level.
Yeah.
There's no wrong answer.
Right? And Travis brings up a point. He says, true fact, some of my characters say things differently than in my head because I can't spell it. I used to see it as a bad thing, but sometimes trying to find a different word to say the same thing I would speak, but in a different word. Dude, thesaurus is like a writer's best friend. Being able to use words or different words that still say the same thing. It's huge. So yeah, man, I totally get you.
Mm-hmm. And diction can also show a character's intellect, their ability how to express themselves. There's so much you can do with that.
He's saying personally, not in his stories. In his stories, he does swear.
Okay, fair enough. No, and that's totally fine. I get it, man.
That's funny. I do like that. Splash House says, I just think the C word is corny. I mean, we can think what we want, but if women don't feel that way, you know what I mean? Then that's what's important because they're the ones. And I mean, to this day, women will hear that word and still be really mad. So again, it doesn't matter how we feel. P word, I agree, pussy. I mean, at this point, it's almost a funny, sexy word more than anything else. I think that most people don't. If you called someone a pussy, I don't think they'd even take it that bad. So, yeah, you can do that. I've never enjoyed it so much, but I feel you.
Yeah. You know, I never expected on a Chuck Pinot interview that we would be talking about the proper use of profanity. I didn't.
Right?
I never
Dude.
anticipated that.
But are you surprised really when it gets down to it?
No.
Yeah.
No. In some ways, you are still a Canadian, my friend. In some ways, you are still a Canadian.
Yeah, I don't want to get rid of that at all. Trish has to go. We love her very much.
It was a pleasure having it.
Go take care of yourself. She had some surgery, and so yeah, go take care of yourself. We're glad you're doing okay. Everyone use this website for thesaurus and other reasons. Wordhippo.com. Oh, I'll look into that. I thought you were gonna be a smartass and be like UrbanDictionary.com or something.
I'm actually gonna recommend somebody, guys. Look up Angela Ackerman. Like seriously, she does all these thesaurus like style stuff for conflict, everything. One of the best, like as an author of any kind of like thing, you will love her. I promise you. Look up Angela Ackerman. Yeah.
Cool. All right. Wendy was about to say something. Let's see.
I was just going to say, I found Word Hippo yesterday. It's an amazing site.
Oh, okay. Did you hear that?
I heard a little bit of that.
Oh, she said she actually found Wendy just found Word Hippo yesterday and said it was an amazing site. So okay, good to know. I don't know anything about it, but I now have two people all of a sudden. So I guess that's officially in the list of websites I have to check out. I yelled the C word to an aggressive driver in Florida. My wife immediately takes their side. Yeah, see?
Yeah.
Yeah, that word has that effect. What if I call someone a banana? Well, they'll treat it the way they do.
I don't know that they know what to do.
I mean, again, yeah, like especially saying effing, like saying fucking in front of that word, absolutely, it gives it so much more strength. I totally agree with you. But again, we're a bunch of white guys, so really, like, I would love to have a panel of women here discussing that word. So for me, if there was this unanimous kind of thing where women like, that word doesn't mean anything, then it wouldn't mean anything. Then I could drop how I feel about it. But until, as I see women continue to be offended by it and continue to hate it, I don't touch it.
Yeah.
I just never heard anyone in New York using that word.
Says something.
That probably says something, because New Yorkers love to fucking swear too. They love to drop their profanities, and they won't use that one. Who you calling white guy? Oh yeah, fair enough. Fair enough, Javi. So cool. Is there anything? We are starting to wind down. We've gotten well over our hour. Is there anything else that you wanted specifically to talk about?
I guess I should point this out to everybody here. I do video editing now. I know a lot of you do Kickstarter trailers. I can do that. I mean, I've done blooper reels, commercials. I do regularly a 10-15 minute show for another company. I'm doing another show that's a massage therapy show. I'm doing the same thing. I'm editing content, doing that stuff. I'd happily be willing to do that as a service to some people, because I know some of you hate that stuff when you do Kickstarter. I would happily be one of those guys that would do that. I'll answer Splash House question there.
That's a good. We will get to that in a minute. Don't you worry.
Yeah. I encourage anybody to go listen to my current podcast, 699, Natasha Cooler Rolf. Nice meeting you. Yes.
See you later, C.
See you later. Yeah.
We'll talk soon, Javi.
Yeah, Javi. No, it's one of those situations where I think it's a service I can provide. But 699, Natasha Cooler Rolf and I talk about publishing in general. And I think so I maybe the last thing worth talking about, since we're going to talk publicly, we mentioned this really about indie creatives. So the whole indie versus traditional thing, I don't think that argument exists anymore. I think what it really has come down to, you have a story you want to tell. The question now becomes, what is the best avenue for you to reach your audience with the story you're told?
Yeah.
Because the thing about, and I had this epiphany when my book got nominated for an award last year, was I don't need a publisher the same way I did. And a lot of comic creators are noticing this with their Kickstarters and other forms of reaching out to audiences now. You don't need to work with a big company anymore. Big companies are niches, right? Now, that doesn't mean that's not a bad thing, but they're niches. So the question now, I think the big question, and we talk about this in this podcast I'm mentioning right now, it's up now, the importance of your intellectual property and where it properly belongs, and a lot of the options along the way it goes. So I honestly think that's something a lot of creatives, no matter who you are, should be looking at. And I think that's everything I need to talk about, right? I think for the time being, I should probably pin my books too, shouldn't I?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, Wendy says, I'm attempting to put together my own Kickstarter video, Josh, but if I need some help, I'll reach out.
Yeah, totally.
Brian says, another resource for writers. This is a pretty in-depth and awesome. I especially like the Emotion Thesaurus. So onestopforwriters.com/thesaurus.
Emotion Thesaurus is probably Angela Ackerman, just saying.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So
that's cool.
Yeah. So, okay. I just released in December 1st, Alice 1. It is written by yours truly. It is illustrated by Kenzie Carr. It's my Alice in Wonderland Greek mythology. You don't need to read Alice 0 to read Alice 1. It definitely doesn't hurt, but you can read Alice 1 on its own. So Alice chases the Queen of Hearts over the edge of the world, and Alice ends up, going over into the Greek underworld. She ends up on the Argo. She finds the mock turtle as merged with a certain Greek god in a very creative way. And she ends up eventually going into the labyrinth where she has to play Jason the Argonauts, a game of croquet. And in this labyrinth in the underworld, Alice and company encounter gods, monsters, and perhaps the most terrifying thing of all, themselves. It's an epic poem written by yours truly, illustrated by the amazing Kenzie Carr. It's out now. It's available on Amazon. You can definitely take a look at it there. I've been getting some nice reviews from a lot of cool people so far. My next book kind of terrifies me just a little bit. Actually, I should show the last thing here. I just do this. I draw now, folks. I've been doing that very, very quietly and not so quietly over the last year. Yeah, I'm going to show you the most. Too far.
You and I are good at a lot of things, Josh. Being quiet isn't always one of them.
Yes. No, quiet. Me, never.
Because I did know about you drawing.
Quiet is not my thing. But that is my least. My sister requests I draw a butterfly with a skull. So this is the butterfly with the skull. She said, I'm going to be drawing my first book. I'm doing that right now. It's called Lights Out. And it's a homage to Ray Bradbury's Fahrenheit 451. It's a very much deals with the questions of happiness and living in a world where instead of going to prison, you're cut off from all technology for 30 days. The lights go out and you have to kind of live in this like prison sentence. So very much my drawing journey's in there. That's why there's a lot of art for me in this. And it's just, like I said, if you're a fan of Ray Bradbury's Fahrenheit 451, you can definitely, I'm hoping April. That's what I'm hoping, but probably May. The next release after that, I get to work with Envu on something this year. I'm really, really, really excited. I'm not going to give away what we're doing, but it's fun. We're going to be, it's the big theme of Ray Bradbury's Fahrenheit 451. And Clarice met Guy Montag and asked, "Are you happy?" I kind of do a retelling of that in my own way. Then I do something with On. And then in the second half of the year, I'm doing my very first Kickstarter. I'm taking Alice 0 and 1. I'm turning them into an omnibus physical book with a board game to go with it. I kind of accidentally invented a board game. but that's another story for another conversation. A little bit.
I think for a lot of us it does, like just in general, just like your writing style reflects your personality and all that sort of stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
My website is jpantalleresco. So I see this giant little thing here, jpantalleresco.wordpress.com. You can find my podcast pretty much any app you want. You can watch it live on Twitch. My next guest is Thursday. I'm back at it. Stone Abdullah is my first guest, but I have an amazing month ahead. There's some really cool people coming in. This is what I do. This is what I'm kind of heading down. So if you need a show to work on, I'm your guy. If you need a story written, I'm your guy. If you need something drawn, I don't know if I'm good enough to be that, but I definitely could be your guy. So, and I have a big mouth. I have an obsessively long, big mouth. So it is what it is.
That's great. That's so good, man. Dude, so glad to finally have you on.
Yeah.
It was funny because you were like, hey, do you want to come on? I was like, I want you to come on when you've got something to talk about. You've got something to drop. So we were able to get you on. I'm so glad. I love chatting with you, man. This has been a lot of fun. It really has been. It always is whenever we get to hang out.
Two last things before we go. I'm still eternally jealous of Chunk's headphones. I'm eternally jealous of that.
I have another reason for you to be jealous. Okay, so no one has seen this. A friend of mine from Australia and I were talking, and she had been drinking. We were having a good time. So I want to give some love out to my dear friend Sophie. She's a very good friend of mine. She has COVID, and she's also in Australia, and she's originally from New York City, and she's kind of stuck there, and she's having a rough time. So I was spending some time with my good friend, having a good old time, and she and I got to talking. And I started telling her, man, I jokingly called her pretentious and said, I bet you own a fucking typewriter. And she said, I do have a typewriter in my house, but someone else brought it, blah, blah, blah. And we had some fun. And I told her, I said, to be honest, actually, I don't want a typewriter, but I love the typewriter keyboards. And I would love to have one like that. So she, being just an absolute delight, she bought me a typewriter keyboard. But because she's one of my friends and she has a that great dickish sense of humor that I absolutely love, she got one that would match my headphones. So I have a bright pink typewriter. I'll see if it does. It lights up just like the headphones. Let's see if it does it. No, this thing has to be on. But let me try it here. I'll open up my laptop. There it is. So you can see it all lights up. Jesus. And then of course my headphones would do the same thing. I'm not doing that right now. But yeah. So she being just amazing. This is me. See, Brian Manella is fucking loving that.
No, it's fantastic.
Good.
See, you got an author photo. Like you got an author shot right there, Mr. Jug, if you want it. Yeah. So,
shit! Look at her! Oh, fuck! I love you, hon. There she is.
Sophie. You're creative.
You made it onto the show, hon. You are a genius.
Yes, you are a genius. So do you want to answer Brian's question, or do you want to just wrap up because it's your show?
No, he asked a fun question. Will you two ever play good cop, bad cop with an interviewee? That's a fun idea. Actually.
Absolutely. So
well, and so who would be the bad cop and who would be the good cop?
I don't know. See, here's the thing. I think from the outset, you can play tougher than I can, but somehow I think I'm the bigger asshole of the two of us. So it's tough.
You know what could be fun? Because that guy needs to be put on his toes. Mm-hmm. So I think what would be a lot of fun is if we just had a little, we had a little bell. And so you go, it's like we start out and you go, okay, you be good cop, I'll be bad cop. And then at some point, one of us rings the bell and that means we both have to switch. And every time we ring the bell, we switch our positions. That would be a lot of fun.
So you know how? Do you know? Okay, so little secrets. You know what would be really fun if the way you we would determine it very quietly is if one of us rolls a 7 on 2 dice. Every time we roll a 7,
Just roll.
yeah, just roll.
Show a 7 and just be like,
done. Yeah, that's it, done. Because
that's fun.
Yeah, no, it just totally it totally would work because it'd be like Steph is like, oh shit. So I'd be the nice guy buttering up with his art. Then the next thing I go, your art fucking sucks. What the hell, man?
You're terrible at this. What are you doing here? Oh,
yeah.
Steph would be perfect for that. That would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, and it just that would be we. Yeah, no, that's totally the point. Because here's the thing. I actually think between the two of us, Chuck is the nicer guy. I actually think that. I think right, but I also
think you might be right.
Yeah, no, I think you actually are the nicer guy. But I think you're also. But I also think though, from the outside looking in, you probably put up better defenses than I do. I surprise people with how much of an asshole I can be. You look tough, and then people are surprised at how nice you are. So it's I feel like that's the difference. Like I said, I'm not a mean person by any stretch of the imagination, but I do have a certain hardness in me, and I know it's there. So it's just one of those things where I keep it in check. But the only way I would do an interview like that though is if the guest was willing to do it, because there's no way to do that.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, there's no way to do it.
They have to be in on the joke. Absolutely.
Yeah. Otherwise, it wouldn't. Otherwise, it would be a terrible interview.
Yeah.
We would hurt somebody, and I'm not a big fan of that at all. So, but Steph would play along. I think, right? We could roast him. We could just roast him for like an hour, right?
Oh yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
We should do. I would love to do.
Yeah.
A roast, a comic book roast. You know what? Maybe for my 100th episode, we'll do a comic book roast.
Actually, with Steph, it would be totally perfect too. It's part of the roast. We actually get a Steph, like we make a mock Steph Wilson comic book, and it's just all boobs. Yes,
all boobs. I love that.
But yeah, like it could be like, and maybe and actually, this is the last thing I kind of wanted to say. Yes, it looks like Brian likes the idea, but Chuck, man, you do a good show. You really do. You really do. You've built quite a good following. You have a lot of good people here that support you. I know you guys have been amazing. Thank you very much for putting up with me for nearly 2 hours. But at the end of the day, man, like I've said this to you in private, I'll say it to you here, like for what it's worth, very proud of everything you've accomplished.
Thank you, man. That means the world to me. It really does. You're a fucking sweetheart. You will send me the nicest things randomly. You'll just be like, I don't even know what, but he will gush, and Josh is such a good dude and always gives all the love. And I love having you on the show. See, Wendy had a fun night. I love having you on the show because I feel like I get to learn from you directly as an interviewer, because I also get to watch how you are on the other side. And I love, being on your interviews, because even then I learn even when you're interviewing me. So anytime I can hang out. Thank you, Paul. I appreciate you.
Yeah.
I'm going to be in touch with you real soon, Paul, because Paul and I are working on some stuff together.
That's cool.
He is actually, and for those of you who are out and about, Paul is going to be at is that this weekend, buddy? I believe he's going to be at the New Orleans Fan Expo. So go check him out. He's got lots of great books to show off. You're both awesome, and hope to be on your show some days. I'll make that happen for sure.
Sure. All you got to do is ask, brother. We'll figure it out. Actually, hold on. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Thanks, Splash House. Thanks, Mike. Yeah, thanks. So I always center. I said so. My show once again is coming back Thursday. You can always watch it live on Twitch. It'll be live on Twitch. The first one will be on Facebook, just because it's my first one in a few weeks. But yeah, so generally speaking, I do a regular interview show, and then I do drink and draws, which are just drawing with whoever's on the show. So feel free to watch, check it out, and yeah, I guess it's time to wrap up. Thanks, guys, for having me on the show. Stay inspired. It's my 10 little thing. Keep doing your thing, whatever it is. All things are possible. They really, really are. And is Chuck still here? Or did he just get disappeared here? Did you get like knocked out again?
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was done. I can't have enough. I'm out.
You need a minute to cry. I got you. No,
Right?
dude,
You were just so nice to me.
yeah. Actually, I did have one last question. I mean, if you can talk about it, what's the
Okay.
one thing what's the one thing you want to accomplish this year?
So I have a really big editing credit coming this year. Hopefully, really big. And so I'll be able to announce announce that later on. I can't yet.
No, dude, that's all good.
But
No,
but I will say for myself, what I would like is to go with that a really big writing credit. So my aim this year is to push Belial, because it's by sometime this year it should have 3 out of the 4 issues done, and so now I can start pointing it towards publishers. So
Cool.
I'm hoping that we'll be able to make some kind of cool announcement and be able to show it off. So that would be it. Say welcome to the void. Yeah, I want more of that too. But yeah. We'll see what happens with that, and that's gonna be my.
I'll answer the questions I asked you.
Yeah, please do.
I'm literally 2 clients away from being a full-time freelancer. Like, I'm not doing anything else but. I've been very fortunate that I've had a lot of people help me out in the last couple of years to figure this stuff out. Freelancing, folks, is very much a head game. It very much is. And maybe one day I'll go into the whole details. But I have 2 shows on top of my show I do. I got books coming out, planning on coming out. What I'd love to get is 2 more clients doing what I'm doing. Because if I get that, I don't need to work. And I honestly... Oh, okay. I'm going to ask... Okay, this will be the last question, I promise. I promise. But I think it's a good final one, because there's a lot of people aspiring for this. Right? Yeah, no. No, awesome. So did you ever get to like a headspace when you really have been getting into this, where you just realize you're going to do it? You're going to succeed?
Yeah, kind of, like, or at least more and more I get into a headspace. I don't know if it's that I'm going to succeed, but it's that I start to look back on the road behind me and I go, man, it's so much more difficult to just fucking give up now than it is to keep moving forward and fucking do something of this.
Yeah. All right. I guess I'm going to leave you with a good piece of advice then. Believe you're going to do it.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, creatives, like, this is the hardest thing as a creative to figure out. There's 3 things that are really hard. First off, who are you? What do you have to say? Why the fuck should somebody care? Big part of your brand, the stories you're going to tell, all that stuff. That is the crux of it. The other thing you got to have in your head is that it's worth something. We are in the business of intellectual property. This is the truth. There's no other... call it what you will. That's the business. And you can go down the street every day and you will see the value of intellectual property everywhere you go. The hardest thing for a creator...
Just look at how excited people are about things like Winnie the Pooh becoming open source this year. So yeah, I mean that's huge. Yeah.
No, it's huge, right? Intellectual property is the foundation of business, of all business, I would go so far to say. And the truth of the matter is, as a creative, you can succeed. The real secret is Realize your own worth. That's why I asked you that question, because I had an epiphany when I got in about August of last year, because partly because I'm not built to be a freelancer, like not a regular day job person anymore. I'm just not wired that way anymore. I had a big mind shift, and that's another conversation. But the important thing I got out of it was I no longer worry about screwing up. I know I'm going to do this and I'm going to succeed at this. And I just have that confidence that things will keep happening. You have that confidence, my friend, you will get there faster.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, and that says that goes out to all of you guys. Remember, someone once told me something that Jack Kirby had said, and I'm butchering it because I don't remember it. But basically, he says, if someone tells you that you suck and you should quit, and you do, then they were right.
Mm-hmm. He's right.
So don't let them be right. Don't fucking quit.
It's rule 3. That's my third rule.
Yeah.
It's the cliche, but it's so true. And I'll answer Brian's question real quick. It's not that I manipulate time. I do what I want. I make a very conscious decision what I want to do, and I do it.
Yeah.
It's that simple. And simple is not easy. It's not. Simple and easy are not the same thing. Simple is having a clear objective of what I want to do and going about the purposes of making that happen. That's it. That is not easy. That's a struggle every freaking day.
Yeah.
But the struggle I want.
Yeah.
And what you find is when you start doing that stuff, you find time.
Yeah, that's right. Don't fucking quit.
Rule
I'll say
3.
the effing for you, brother. Thank you, Lacam. I appreciate you saying that. It's so true. Well, I think, it's so funny, but I think the final words of the night are going to be don't effing quit, because we are going to quit for the night. But we'll be back. You're going to be back soon. When are you back on the air?
Oh, Thursday.
So he'll be back Thursday. Please check out Josh. Check out his stuff. You will not be disappointed. I love every time I get the chance to be on his show and hang out with him. Thus, the good reason for having him come out here tonight. So same for you guys. Go check it out. And if you have the chance to be on the show, jump on that. You guys will have a blast. Next week, this time, we're going to have Tony Clapper from 5 Star going to come out, and he's going to talk about his book, which is on Kickstarter right now, from Freestyle Comics. I have a book coming out from them this year as well that I got to work with, so I'm excited to talk with the Freestyle crew and see what's going on. I think you guys are going to have a great time, a lot of superhero fun. So thank you, Josh, for coming out. I really appreciate you, man. You're much love to you, my Canadian brother. Always love hanging out with you. Thank you. And all you guys, you know what's up. Peace, love, and comics. Stay safe. Take care of yourselves. And my name is Chuck. I do give a fuck. Take care.